This Choircast podcast is brought to you by The Subversive Soul. Has anyone ever told you that your soul is essentially whole? How about singular, embodied, and wild? Do they teach you how to live from your soul in a way that rearranges your guts and sets you on a path toward wholeness? That's exactly what this book delivers. The Subversive Soul by Phyllis Mathis is available now on Amazon.
Welcome to the Unbelief Podcast, your journey, actually our journey together beyond inherited beliefs to a spirituality that works for you. I'm your host, Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. We can fix that later, right? No? Damn. Welcome to another Drinks and Deconstruction episode. I am here with DJ, and before we go any further, I need to know, what are you drinking?
I am drinking iced tea because it's the middle of the afternoon here.
Right. So you and I are on opposite coasts. It's drink o'clock here, but it's like borderline drinking time where you are. Like late afternoon, like nobody's going to judge you that much, but you know. So you're doing something healthy at tea. I'm doing some Balvenie Scotch. So cheers. So you and I were talking, and in the Drinks and Deconstruction episodes, we have to tell like a whole story, or somebody tells like an encapsulated moment or two, and you told me that when you got married, you were like an old maid, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
right. So,
very much so.
The question is, how old were you?
I was 22.
And this was funny. So DJ is part of our Not Church Discord. And she said, like, I was really old because you were 22. And is it the only person in your family? You were the only person in your family that was old enough to drink at their wedding?
The only woman. A lot of the men in my family were older because, you don't have to get married really young if you're a guy.
This is interesting. Okay, so so you were the only woman.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I did not. This is so the guys did it. Why? How old were the guys? Just can you get a sense? Can you give us a sense of like what the separation is here in age?
Some of them were fairly close, like 2-3 years, reasonable. But my parents are 10 years apart.
Oh wow! So that is 10 years apart a common thing? That like significant, a common thing in your family?
Not really, but it was kind of seen as normal that my parents were, which seemed very strange considering that my mom was 19 when she got married.
Yeah, because like 10 years apart, 35 to 45, for example, you're like, oh, but 10 years apart. 10 years apart, 19 to 29. That's a whole other thing, right? Like,
yes, it is.
Oh my. So, but okay, so I guess my initial question is, where does that come from? Like, where in your culture growing up was this sort of ethic of women being married so young? Like why was it?
So there was definitely a part of it that was just small town America.
Mm-hmm.
But the church definitely played a big role in that. It is a woman's most important part of her life is to get married and have children.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to do that, and you want to do that young.
So why, what kind of things did they do or teach at church that made you feel like that's, like you needed to be, that was, as a woman, that was your role?
Well, one of the earliest things, I was only middle school, so like 10, 11.
Okay.
And I can really remember instructions from the pastor that I needed to be watching where I was spending my time and make sure that I was spending my time in places where there would be godly men, because I would be meeting my future husband at some point, and I wanted to make sure that he was a godly man.
How old?
I was like 10 or 11.
But again, you're going to meet your husband. Like we're talking about that at 10.
I mean, I'm assuming that it was thought that I would meet him in a few years, but I needed to start preparing my life so that I was in church events and stuff when I met him.
Oh. Okay. I mean, 10 years old, it's early to start talking about marriage in that kind of concrete terms. Do you remember when he said that? Do you have any sense of like how that landed with you?
He was also, there was a group of us, and there were some older girls, and they were talking about a rock concert. Okay. And so that a lot of it was, you should
a rock, like a specific rock concert.
I don't remember. I wish I did. But, it was one of those wild rock concerts where women were flashing their boobs, and, this was horrible rock,
Like a Kiss concert.
Something along those lines, yes. And so he was very much warning them that they needed to not be going to rock concerts, because that's not where you want to meet. You could meet your husband there, and you don't want him to be the kind of guy that goes to places where women flash their boobs.
Like kind of guy who goes to a rock concert.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to marry that kind of guy.
What a strange thing to focus on. So, okay, so you're 10. The pastor said, like, don't go to rock concerts, because you might meet a guy, you're going to meet your husband, and you don't want him to be at a rock concert. And I guess, I'm sure that like you overheard stuff growing up, but that's the kind of first thing that sticks in your head, right?
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
What comes after that? Like what's the next thing when you're like, oh yeah, but then
I'm sure that I was around 12 or 13 when I started praying for my future husband.
Oh my gosh. Why?
I was subscribed to Brio magazine from Focus on the Family.
Oh, Focus on the Family. Good God.
And if you don't know Brio, it is their magazine targeted for teen girls.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was talk in there about, you need to be praying for your future husband, that God blesses him and that he manages to stay pure, and that he is everything, that everything that needs to happen for him to be a good man for you develops in his life now.
Wow. Okay. So what? Hang on. So you were praying for your future husband. What yes. you say you were 12? Is that what you said?
12 or 13. Yeah.
Okay. So you're praying for your future husband because James Dobson told you to. And that's right. He's a Focus on the Family guy for people who are not familiar with the evangelical church culture. So you're praying for your future husband. You're not praying, God, make us have a good relationship. God, help us have a wonderful time dating and meeting, or, or help me know that when I meet him, that it's him. No, you are praying for his, I guess, success, his sexual purity, it's not like any sort of mutuality in what you described, and tell me if I'm wrong, there's no mutuality in that prayer. It's about him.
Because so much of my life from even, within church, mm-hmm. was dedicated toward making sure that I would be a good woman, to be a good mm-hmm. wife. So I was working on my part separate from that prayer.
Right.
But there was never a concept of praying for our relationship, because that hadn't happened yet.
Okay. I mean, you hadn't met it yet. He wasn't your husband yet. But like that, the number of things that hadn't happened yet is immense. And that like you would be praying about any of them is crazy. But that this is what Brio magazine said you should pray. It communicates so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you said you were working on yourself as a woman to be prepared for being a wife.
Yes.
This is an interesting thing that normal people don't say, right? Because like working on yourself as a woman in the rest of the world, at least in my experience, I should in the United States, in my experience is getting education, like learning how to be a small business owner or getting involved in track or like working on yourself as a woman is like helping yourself learn how to be assertive in certain situations, right? Like, but when you say it that way, like working on myself as a woman to be a good wife, and we're talking 12 or 13, like what does that even mean?
It means some of the things that you just said, like getting a good education. But it was getting a good education so that I would be a good wife and mother was a focus on it. And then purity stuff, both sexually with purity culture, but also, be sure that I am praying enough, that I'm spending enough time in the Bible, that I am being a godly woman.
Mm-hmm. And what is a godly woman?
I don't know.
Oh my God. I love. Okay, so that cracks me up because like you want to be a godly woman. You want to be a godly woman. Like you hear it over and over again, and people are like, "Yeah," and then you say, "Like, well, what is a godly woman?" You're like, "Oh, I mean, I don't know. No one ever said that. They just told us to be. They just told us to be a godly woman, and like clearly, reading your Bible, not having sex, that kind of stuff is part of that. But like, wow, it's just the rabbit hole goes so deep. So, all right. Now, let's just talk about 12, 13-year-old DJ. You're forming your identity. You're going through puberty, right? You're beginning to, have all sorts of like hormones, things that happen. And so as adult DJ looks back on 12, 13-year-old DJ. How is that world shaping how you see yourself? Right? Like how is what you are immersed in, oftentimes they'll give us lenses and we think of them as lenses that look out, but they're also lenses that look in, right? How we see ourselves, what we imagine. So yeah.
Very much. I saw myself based on my relationship to other people and the value that I could give to other people. Means? Well, I mean, at 12 or 13, it was, how am I serving the church? Am I being a good friend? Am I helping my friends be good, godly women? And then in the future, it was going to be, am I being a good wife and mother?
Uh-huh. Okay. And so what I'm hearing is your orientation to who you are is not as much internal as it is external. Like you are defining your worth, your value, whether or not you were like succeeding at being a 13-year-old based on who you are for other people.
Oh yeah.
Now and in the future.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we have those two moments. Let's fast forward past Brio magazine. What's the next thing that hits in this?
Um, well, there was high school, and I didn't date in high school. I was the weird girl, um, which doesn't land very well when you're trying to set yourself up to get married and
Fair.
your girlfriends are dating.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
was there a reason? I mean, and obviously any question I ask you with all this stuff, you can definitely say no. And we will just edit it out of the podcast and even ask. But
was there a reason why I didn't date?
yeah.
There wasn't anybody interested in me. I was the weird
Okay.
girl.
I see. I see.
I really only had one guy that I liked,
Okay.
and later found out he was in the closet. So that
Right.
was going nowhere.
Yeah. Oh, because you were, and then this is not a stereotype, but you were a theater kid,
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
So,
and he was a theater guy.
right. And as many of my friends who were in theater, it was a safe place for queer people, right?
Yes, very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So the only guy you were interested in was queer, but people weren't interested in you.
No.
Right. Okay. So you were dating, and then what was the church telling you?
Um, the church was telling me to work on being a good, godly woman, and
Mhm.
that there wasn't pressure at that time around dating because, of course, you also want to stay pure, and so you don't want to date too much in high school.
Right.
Um, and so there was when it came to
And
relationships,
let's
there
just
was
be
always
clear. If you're going to be getting married when you're 20, high school is the only time you can really date.
pretty
Right.
much.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
um, but there was also relationship advice always came with the don't worry, he's out there. God has someone for you. You just need to wait.
Yeah.
Just wait and focus on God and focus on this time being single because later you'll be married and then you'll have kids and life will be busy. And so you need to focus on this time with God and become a godly woman.
So I imagine in high school, uh, being a young woman whose friends are dating, and you aren't dating. I'm sure there were times where that did not feel good. Like
Oh no,
that did not make you feel good about yourself, right?
no, I did not have much self-confidence, and that was an aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so did this like way the church talked about that, do you think that helped?
No, I wish that the messaging would have been more of a you are complete and focus on yourself. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do?
Right. Right.
And with some because all the hormones are going and you want to be dating and but
Right.
with the assurance that yes, there's someone out there for you and that you will eventually date. It will all be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that shouldn't have been the focus.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you start dating?
20.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell us that story of how you made it to a first date?
So I spent some of the time in my summers in
Mm-hmm.
college at a youth with a mission base,
Okay.
and my would-be husband was living there full time.
Okay.
So hilariously,
Oh, and just so that I'm not insensitive about something, would be and still is, or would be and
Oh,
is
well,
no
it
more?
would be and still is, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, bad.
When I was going around meeting some of the staff members, I can remember meeting this lady named Shirley, and she's asking the very basic questions of,
Mm-hmm.
and finds out that I'm 18 and that I just graduated and goes, "Oh, you need to meet Darren. He's 18 and he just graduated. You guys would hit it off."
Uh-huh.
I had talked to this woman for less than 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And she was trying to set me up with a guy.
Right.
Now, he
You're
did eventually
18.
end up being my husband. But I don't think that had... Seeing how later I think she was trying to set him up with somebody else, I don't think it had anything to do with like this premonition or anything. It was just, oh, they're at that age. It's time for them to get married. Let's get them together.
Yeah, it's time to get married at 18.
Yeah.
That's 18. You said your first date was 20. So where do you go from,
Yes.
Hey, meet this guy?
Well, so my husband's name is Darren.
Huh?
And there was another guy on temporary staff named Aaron.
Okay.
And I thought she was talking about Aaron.
I see.
Who, A, I wasn't interested in, and B, was immediately interested in my best friend.
Oh, oof.
And he actually ended up like basically proposing to her like 4 months later.
Oh my gosh.
She had zero into. She's like, no. And so my time was running out. I was getting ready to leave again. And I asked him if he wanted to go to a movie.
Oh.
And
in the dark?
Yes. And he didn't realize that I was asking him on a date. And so he said, "Oh, sure, who all's going?" Which I immediately had to invite someone else because there was no way that. So I roped somebody else into going.
Uh-huh.
And so that was our sort of first date.
Right.
And then after that movie, then the kitchen lady got very much of telling both of us that you need to be asking the other one out. Come on.
Okay.
It's the end of the summer. You need to get on this.
Right.
And
actually, as we are in this, you are at something called YWAM.
Yes.
You said that a bunch of times, but YWAM is a very conservative evangelical subculture thing. What is YWAM?
So Youth with a Mission is a missionary organization.
It's at YWAM, not YWAM. It's Youth with a it stands for Youth with a Mission, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Cool.
So it's a mission-based organization that is mostly focused on people who are under like 25 or so, and mostly focused on short-term missions, but also building up long-term missionaries. You're living basically on a compound with only Christians.
It's not a cult, but it's not a cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I knew, like the kitchen lady had said, "Hey, I told him to ask you out."
Oh my gosh.
So at this point, I'm trying to be ladylike, and I'm just giving him an opportunity to ask. So I sat for an hour and watched him play pinball on the computer.
That entire sentence. I sat for an hour and watched him play pinball on the computer. Okay. And he, in that moment, he's not like working out how to ask you out, or is that what's about to happen?
I mean, it was in his head, but he had no clue what to do and had decided that it was going to be my problem pretty much. And so no, he was just playing pinball and not paying too much attention to the girl that was sitting there watching him play computer pinball. So then he like left to go take a shower, and I'm like, okay, Um, and so later that evening, we were sitting in the living room on opposite sides on different couches. And I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to ask this guy out? Like, because he is not getting the message. Um, and so there was a country song at the time that was popular called Check Yes or No.
Oh, I know this song.
Yes. And so
Unfortunately, I know
wrote
this song.
the chorus to this song and made it into a paper airplane and threw it at him.
I mean, in the rom-com based in the Deep South, on either side of a trailer, like I can imagine how this would feel very sweet and cute. But as I'm sitting here in the DC area in 2025, it seems just horrifically broken.
Oh, yeah. It was horrifically broken. It was also kind of cute, but it was horrifically broken.
No.
And he read it, which the chorus is, do you love me? Do you want to be my friend? If you do, then don't be afraid to take me by the hand. I think this is how love goes. Check yes or no. Which, I mean, he was a country fan, so like he at least knew that this was
familiar with the song. Right,
yes.
Right.
Yes. So he looks at it and he gets up and walks out of the room.
What? You're supposed to grab her hand. It literally says it in the song. So or at least check yes or no.
He walked down to his bedroom to get a pencil. Jeez, checked yes. Bro. Sat back on the opposite side of the living room. Folded it back into an airplane and threw it at me. Oh, he checked yes, and then he said, so you want to like go out or something?
Yeah.
So 4 months later.
What do you 4 months later. Go ahead.
4 months later, we were engaged.
Ah. Okay. Yes. That's the shocker. It's a shocker, like hearing it in my world right now. However, I grew up in a very similar world. And that quick engagement was not unusual, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend who met this woman. They dated for 2.5 weeks and he proposed to her.
Wow.
They're obviously not married anymore. But like, oh my gosh, what? Why did that happen that fast? Well, let me ask it a different way. Do you feel like your religious upbringing had some part to play in you going from not poking somebody's eye out with a paper airplane to being engaged 4 months later?
It definitely did, because the purpose of dating was to get married. And so, like, if we were at that point where we were dating and we had said, I love you, and so it made sense.
How old were you then?
I was still 20. Okay.
So you were still 20 at engagement?
Yes.
Okay. So, I think this whole thing about the point of dating is to get married, right? It is so toxic.
Oh yeah.
Like it is so unhealthy because if every boyfriend or girlfriend or they friend is if the goal is to get married, right? Then each of those relationships carries this way bigger weight in your life. And there is a pressure to make it work. right? I
Yes.
remember somebody saying that when you were dating somebody, obviously you shouldn't start dating them unless you thought you might marry them. And breaking up with them wasn't the same as divorce, but it kind of was a little like it, right? And there's just this pressure or weight on every dating relationship because this could be the person that you're going to marry. And hopefully it is. Hopefully you don't have to date again. You've found your soulmate. And so people begin to mold themselves into the person they think the other person will want to marry. And they begin to become not a more authentic version of themselves, but they become the person that they think the other person wants, right? And then they are just dating and breakups happen. But because there was this pressure to be the husband or the wife or whatever, there's oftentimes people lose themselves, right? Because they try to change themselves, mold themselves into that person's ideal of whatever. And so the breakup isn't just like the breakup of this relationship, which is sad, it hurts, but it's also this difficult identity problem, right?
Yes.
Because I don't I can, now that we're on this rom-com theme, I can imagine the breakup scene, the after breakup scene in the rom-com, right? The woman talking to her BFF and saying like, "I just don't even know who I am anymore," right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you see that? Did that? How does that land for you?
Um, Now it lands very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the time it was normal.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think very much I was groomed for it because
Mm-hmm.
my entire life was like, as far as the church was concerned, was based on relationships with other people. It was, are
Mm-hmm.
you being a good friend? Are you, and so yeah, being a good girlfriend and then a good fiance, that was what I was supposed to be doing.
It sounds like you had a long engagement because
Yes. Um, because I had to finish my degree and
okay. Well,
I am
where did that come from?
amazingly from a high school teacher who is also a Christian and a mentor.
Uh,
She had actually made me promise that I would not get married until I had my bachelor's degree because she was
wow.
tired of seeing women go off to school, meet a guy, get married, drop out, and start having kids.
Oh my gosh. It is so sad that this is this was the world that this woman lived in and that you lived in, that like drop out and start having babies. But also, holy shit. What an amazing woman.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much so. She stayed a mentor and a friend for quite a long time.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so cool.
but when I tell people that, like, oh, I had made this promise to have a degree before getting married, everyone is shocked that I didn't make that promise to my parents, that it wasn't my parents pushing that, which it wasn't. Like, my parents, like, I graduated high school, that was good. Um,
Uh,
and my husband was going to financially support me. So what's the big deal? Like, it was a teacher.
it was a teacher. Thank God for that teacher. What's her name?
Oh,
We
yeah.
need to shout her out.
Mary Lynn Finner.
Uh, Thank you so much, Mary Lynn Finner. I'm sure that DJ, I'm sure you're not the only person whose life she changed because, your relationship has turned out you're still in that relationship. And, but if you weren't, she would have like rescued your life
Oh, yeah.
by making sure that that there was some pressure in your world somewhere to finish college before you got married and started having babies.
Yes.
So that's great. I'm so glad that she was in your life. And then you got married.
Yeah.
And what happened after you got married?
It was not good. I mean, I am very happily married now. But I would not suggest at the age of 22 to go from college and all of that, like driving force. 2 weeks later, you get married. You move to a new state for the first time.
That sounds like a good idea.
And now don't have anything that you're supposed to go do during the day because you finished college. It was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Wow. What about James Dobson, Focus on the Family? Did they prepare you to be a happy wife?
No, not at all.
For those people who are listening to the podcast, DJ's eyes rolled almost completely back in her head at that moment.
Fortunately, there were some people that were actively trying to make sure that we were somewhat ready. And like, I know that somebody from his world, his church, gave us a book on, how to be happy while being married. Okay. That actually talked about how to establish some communication and stuff. So there was some stuff, but it was definitely not the stuff coming from Focus on the Family. No,
of course not. So now looking back, child bride as you were, and the church world, what were some of the things that you feel like you had to, some of the, I guess, barriers put in your way as a married person from the things that you were taught, the culture you were in church growing up?
I mean, at that age, I was very much a fundamentalist. Like, I insisted that obey be put in the vows, in the wedding vows.
Oh, wow.
And that was my plan.
That's a choice.
That was absolutely my plan for life, was he was going to make the big decision. Thankfully, I am headstrong. And
when obey meant reality went out.
Oh, yeah. I am headstrong, and he is fast to compromise. And thankfully was not the fundamentalist that I really thought he was at the time. And so it has worked. But no, I was completely set up for an abusive relationship entirely.
Yeah. Wow. And you lucked out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would absolutely not advise this for any woman. Because I got lucky.
How did you unravel all of that to get to the place where you are now?
There's been a lot of therapy.
Fair. Yeah.
There also
shout out to therapy. Everybody should be in therapy all the time.
Thankfully, the church that we attended for the first few years actually had a marriage group that went through a book called Intimate Encounters.
Okay.
Which is pretty much the only Christian material that I would be like, yeah, everyone who is in a romantic relationship should probably read through this and work through this workbook, because it was all about how do you communicate. And it was, we each had a workbook that we worked through separately, and then we had time that we worked together and discussed it. And we learned a lot of skills from that group.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And yeah, then from there, I kind of just lost the fundamentalism and found out that he never really had too much of it to begin with, and we're happy.
The end. Wow. DJ, what do your fundamentalist friends think of you now?
I'm not really friends with them anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you said that, there was a tinge of sadness there.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of slowly losing touch as we left church, which we had left church for health reasons, not for religious reasons. But when you're no longer in church, you kind of lose those people. And so then we stayed friends through Facebook, and eventually a vast majority of them I have unfriended because I couldn't stand the stuff that they were saying on Facebook. And since then I've also came out as bi, which is a good way to lose a lot of your fundamental friends.
And now you just did to the rest of the world. So.
Oh yeah, I'm very out about that. That's
fine. Right. No. Yeah. So when that happened, this is all part of the same piece, right? So, the purity culture, all of that in the fundamentalist world, like heteronormativity is a real thing. Internalized homophobia is a real thing. How on earth, if you don't mind me asking, were you able to chart the path from straight 22-year-old bride to, I think I might like men and women?
Well, I honestly bought into the concept that it is a choice.
Okay.
Because for me, there was the choice of, you don't date married men, you don't date, and you don't date women. Like that was on the list of what you don't date. So it just wasn't an option.
Men, don't date, right. Yeah, don't date drug addicts.
Yeah.
And don't date non-Christians. And don't date women.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a choice. And I actually, well engaged, had kind of a crisis of a severe crush on a woman. And the first one that was like a major, I could not ignore it. I could not write this off as I wanted to be her friend. And fortunately, I was in therapy with the school counselor at the time. And the school counselor very much was like, this is not a big deal. Like, you have a crush. Like, how does this affect your...
At what age?
So I was 20 or so.
Okay. All right. Wow.
20,
so this is like engagement.
Yes, I was engaged. Yeah, I was engaged. Wow. And she, was like, so do you think that this is anything to do with your relationship with your fiance? And I very much was still in love with him.
Of course.
And so it didn't affect anything. So she very much was like, this is not a big deal. Like, you have a crush, don't worry about it. And so I kind of buried it and I ignored it. And many years later, I had a friend who was a fundamentalist who came out to me. And because of that, started looking at the clobber verses in the Bible.
And no, that's dangerous.
But looked at them as how do I be supportive of my friend, and what could these verses actually be saying?
Right. You put basically any effort into understanding them. And this is the problem. When people put any effort into understanding them, they very quickly realize those passages. And clobber passages is the passages that people use to tell queer people that they're sinful. They don't stand up.
No, they don't at all. I mean, an hour or so of reading what they actually mean, like, no. And so I was being a supportive friend to her. Well, to be fair, they have now change pronouns.
Okay. To there?
Fair.
Fair. Okay.
Fair.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty much after that I started being able to go, I like women.
Yeah. What was that? How did that feel internally when you started to come out to yourself?
It was awkward. Probably because my biggest thing was I've never dated a woman. How can I call myself bi?
Right. Yes. No. This is the thing.
And I thankfully had some good friends who were actually Unitarians. And I had made a comment like that of, can I even consider myself bi if I've never dated a woman? And they're like, well, were you into guys before you dated your husband? Yeah. Well, then if you're into girls too, you're bi.
Yeah. I think so. There's this concept of internalized homophobia, right? Where growing up as a fundamentalist, you were taught that being gay was a sin. And so then you internalize that. And as a queer person, you say, like, I am sinful. This is sinful. When you see somebody, you're attracted to somebody that is not the person you should be attracted to is a straight person, you feel guilty and sinful. Like there's something wrong with you. There's a temptation, like all of that stuff. I think that there's also there's another thing that's called bi erasure, which is something that I'm sure you're very familiar with, TJ, because you're in a straight presenting relationship where people, because of the heteronormativity that exists in our modern culture, people assume that a straight presenting couple is straight, which means if one or both of those people are bi or pansexual or whatever it is, that their queer identity is taken from them in a way. And it's difficult. It's painful. And it's something that people have to figure out how to process and deal with. But I would suggest that there's also internalized bi erasure, right? Where if you've only had a relationship with men, right, you can ignore your bi identity by saying, well, I've only had sex with a man, or I've only been dated men, so therefore I can't be bi, right? And which is part of, I think, this religious pressure this is internalized homophobia, this internalized religious pressure to not identify as anything other than straight. Anything other than straight is somehow sinful, giving into temptation, whatever. And I think this is one of those things. Did that feel right to you? This internalized bi erasure?
Yeah. Yeah, because I fully bought into the concept that everyone was choosing.
Right. Yeah. Turns out.
It turns out that there are some people who are only attracted to one gender.
Right. Which is, I love that for them. Also, people don't choose this because especially, and this is what people who make that bullshit argument, what I say is like, okay, you didn't grow up where I grew up. Okay. Where if you had any attraction to somebody of the same gender, you were evil, right? You were corrupted, right? And then to even think about quote unquote giving into that temptation, right? Identifying as that, like the level of like psychological pain and like existential fear, right? People don't choose that, right? You don't choose, like, the only reason people who grow up in these fundamentalist backgrounds come out as queer is because they are. Because they were, and that's who they are. Because if you could choose, God, I know this. I'm sorry. I know so many people, DJ, that like laid in their bed and prayed every night that God would take that temptation away from them. They did not choose that. They never would. Yeah. Yeah. So coming out to yourself is a huge thing. And then you said you came out to everybody else.
Yeah. So basically, like, that group of friends was safe, like, entirely. And so yeah, they were basically the ones that kind of told me I was bi, because I was trying to figure it out with this whole I've never
I
dated a
love,
woman, and they're like, yeah,
they
sweetie,
told
you're
you you
bi.
were bi.
And
Which is it's sweet in this also very messed up way that like somebody had to like tell you
yes,
and you're like, okay, actually right, you're right.
yes. Um, and pretty much like once I had settled that with myself, then I didn't want to be closeted. Like, it bothered me. And I told my husband pretty quickly, and he was like, yeah, um, we knew this. Because
Lesson.
I had somewhat admitted to having a crush on a friend, on a girlfriend. So
Right.
like he and he's like, okay, so what's the problem?
And
Um,
but can I just say the fact that he didn't call you a pervert,
yes.
right? That he didn't go into this like script that he had been given. It is a sign of like an actualized, legitimately good man.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So he was cool
He was
when
cool.
yeah, that's great.
And he very much encouraged me to not tell people, not in the you need to be in the closet, but
No,
just in
right.
the you're going to lose friends over this.
Yeah.
And does it actually affect your life? Um,
Mm.
Sort of way.
I can hear the empathy in that of like, I don't want you to be in pain, right? But at the same
Yes.
time, sometimes best intentions still are complicated, right?
Yes. Yes. And I very much am not good at hiding any part of who I am. And so it was not very long after that like I just stated on Facebook that I'm bi. And
Hey guys, I'm
yeah,
bi. Peace out.
I'm married to my husband, and that means that I'm not dating. And but that doesn't mean that I'm not bi either.
Yeah.
Um, and most of my church friends pretty much ignored it. I don't really remember what the response was from the few that commented.
Mhm.
My not church friends were like, "Oh yeah, you know, congratulations for coming out." There was another woman that's like, "Oh yeah, I mean, me too."
Mhm.
Um,
It's
and
funny. It's funny as you said that. So you said you had your friends and you had your not church friends. It cracks me up because like we are in this faith community called Not Church that we don't like live stream somebody with a guitar every week or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. Not that kind of a faith community. But like it's funny because what we say is that like it's like church. And we talk about spiritual things. We talk about our beliefs, our practices, how we feel like we connect with God. We are also like there for each other in hard times. We talk about politics and post memes and whatever. And but nobody's telling you you're going to hell. Right. And it's funny because you said like my church friends did this and then my not church friends. And as you said it, I was like, actually that's exactly how the people in not church would
oh,
respond.
completely.
Yeah. And, I feel like I always want to tell people, like, you should check it out. Cause it's like, I don't know. It's as a person who's been a professional Christian for a long time, like, it's what I always had wished existed, where people were like kind and caring, but honest and like smart, but like smart in the sense of like we're learning from each other not judgy and hateful. Anyway, it's great. So if people want to be part of that, you can go to patreon.com/skepticpastor. It's $3 a month because like we got all kinds of religious drama up in that place. And like a lot of it is like people trying to bilk us out of money. And so it's just pay for what you get, $3 a month. And if it works for you, that's awesome. If it doesn't work, you just stop paying. Like no harm, no foul. Also, if $3 a month is like actually too hard, like we'll let you in for free. Like we're not part of, we're not going to like create the like capitalistic systemic injustice in the church world. Right. But yeah. So anyway, that your friends were like, cool. You're not church friends. We're like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, pretty much. And my family by this time, I mean, my cousin is a trans man who's married to a trans man. So this was so not a thing.
That's so vanilla.
He had already been through all of the helping them understand this. And yeah, my husband's family has not acknowledged it. It has been years. And we just
pretend.
It's just not acknowledged.
I know. Well, in some ways, if they're going to put their head in the sand on something, might as well be there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
honestly,
I would. That's not obviously the ideal situation, but there are so many other versions of that story that are more painful.
Yes, like the thing that I had feared was that I would suddenly not have access to my nieces, who I love very, very much. But all of a sudden, I was going to be this bad influence, and So there was definitely fear there that it could have went a lot worse, and so I'm thankful that they ignore it, because I'm still in relationship with them.
That's so great. TJ, if you could pull, let's say 19-year-old DJ and say something to her from, I don't know how old you are, but you're at least more than 22. What do you think you'd say to her?
You're enough.
Yeah.
And I'd probably elaborate like crazy, but it would be, to emphasize the point of you're enough.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a perfect place to end. Like everybody, I don't care if you're like 19 or 90, you're enough. Yeah. Thanks, DJ.
Thanks.
That's it. That's the podcast. Shout out to the Choir Network, to Patheos, to Matthew and Keith, who make everything happen. Now, get out of here. Go do something to make the world a better place. Okay? We'll see you next time.